This is Nation Radio. It's Chris Bloomer backstage at the Most Point Arena on a Sunday night, speaking to the one and only Mr. Noel Gallagher.
Hello there. Glamorous, isn't it?
I love these leather seats. They're fantastic.
They're not bad. They weren't here last time we came here, but as you can see, it's... Oh, the glamour.
I think they got a job lot from Habitat somewhere.
Yeah, the same ones are in my dressing room as are in this one, yeah. All good, though.
Now, the last time I saw you was at the NME Awards at the O2 Academy in Brixton in February. What a night that was.
Indeed, yeah, it was good, yeah.
Well, I had a great night, but obviously you must have had an unbelievable night winning the Godlike Genius Award.
Do you know what? I had a gig the next day, so I had to properly keep a lid on it. So I didn't celebrate it until, might have been a couple of days after, but yeah, still not fully recovered.
I loved your speech. It must have been an emotional night for you because you get a standing ovation from everybody, and then you get these like rock icons like Roger Daltrey and even like Johnny Marr presenting you with the award as well.
Yeah, but I get standing ovations in restaurants and all sorts, so I'm used to that. You know what I mean? I'm actually quite offended you didn't stand up when I walked in before, but we'll let that go. Yeah, I'd asked Johnny to do it. I mean, I know Johnny anyway, but yeah, to see Ray Davies was a trip because like Ray is one of the true greats, and Johnny and Ray and Roger Daltrey, I mean, Pete Townsend, what can you say? You know, Weller, they're all the greats, and yeah, it was good. You
seem to have been so busy this year. You just seem to have been on the road constantly for the last 12 months. You've done now well over 100 gigs as a solo artist.
115 or 20 or something. Yeah, I've got till November. I mean, the record blew up on the road, you know, so don't know whether it'll ever happen again like this. Do you know what I mean? So cane it while you're in the groove, and just kept adding gigs, and it's a pity that my second album has kind of fallen by the wayside, and this tour has kind of killed that. But owe it to yourself to get out there and get it done, you know.
And are you enjoying life as a solo artist, or do you miss the days of being in a band like Oasis?
No, and I don't say that with any. I don't mean like callous when I say that. Like, no, you know what I mean. I don't think about it too much because I wouldn't have left the band if it was great. Do you know what I mean? If it was all and giggles and sunshine and lollipops, I wouldn't be sat here now in this expensive fake leather chair, would I? Listening to Graham Coxon in the next room there. I'd be at Wembley Stadium, wouldn't I? But I don't miss it, but I don't say that with any kind of callous feeling, you know. I enjoy what I do now. This is harder work, I've got to say. This is a lot. It's a lot harder on the brain than Oasis was. Oasis was hard on the soul. This is hard on the brain, though. He's constantly got to be on it every night from the first song, you know. When I was in Oasis, I used to go on and shuffle on at the back, hungover, generally. Me and Gen would have been up till 4 or 5, and then by the time I got to sing my bits, I'd be well and truly warmed up, you know. And now it's kind of got to be on it from 9 o'clock on the ball.
Well, you've done loads of big festivals this summer. What's been the personal highlight of all the festivals you've done?
I'd say Benny Cassim in Spain. I did 4 or 5 gigs with the Stone Roses at all festivals, and that one, I wasn't on till 1 in the morning. They didn't go on till 4 in the morning. And it was a bit of a Manchester reunion backstage. Everybody hung around until the sun came up, and we did a bit of this and a bit of that and toasted the sun, and they were phenomenal that night. I've seen them 4 times 4 or 5 times, and twice they were phenomenal. And it was a great night, great crowd, great atmosphere. But I got to say, the last gig we did at Wembley Arena the night before last might have been the best London gig I've ever done.
Really?
It was unbelievable. I don't know where the crowd came from. They obviously weren't Cockneys.
Got to talk about this Jersey Live gig that you did the other week, because it was all over the papers. Your guitar case got opened, a spider jumped out, everyone panicked, backstage was closed down, animal experts were called out. Question everyone's lips, Noel, how is the spider? Do we know what happened to that spider?
Yeah, I can categorically state that story is not even true.
Really?
Yeah, none of it actually happened. How somebody would think a giant spider with green fangs, like something out of Scooby-Doo, would, you know, shut down the backstage area of a major British festival. It's nonsense. I wasn't even there. It was a story about me that I wasn't even in attendance. And what actually happened was this. My crew had loaded in the night before and put all my stuff underneath the tarpaulin on the stage. And when they pulled back the tarpaulin, a spider.
Right.
A spider. Just a regular Jersey French / English spider just happened to run off. And Lord knows how it ends up in the sun. Lord knows. But that story has no foundation or truth in it whatsoever.
Well, I was going to talk about, as well as a great summer of music, fantastic summer of sport. We've had the London 2012 Olympics, also the Paralympics are going to finish off tonight. Did you get a chance to go to watch any of the events live? I
did. I was lucky enough to go to the last Saturday when Mo Farah won the 5,000 metres and seen the Jamaicans win the 4x100 metres. And I've got to say, I've been to big gigs and big sporting events all over the world, and that was incredible. And the whole 2 weeks, I think, was kind of before the Olympics started, you know, and you hear Boris and the toffs, you know, Cohen, Cameron and all that mob who run our country saying that, you know, this is going to bring out the best in Britain. And because we're a nation of cynics, we're all sat there going, off, you know. But actually, I was in London for that 2 weeks. Actually, they were right. It was an amazing thing that happened, you know what I mean? That everybody thought it was going to be a disaster. Yeah. And, you know, you got 70,000 people watching javelin and stuff like that. But that night at the stadium, it's amazing to see how the crowd reacted to Mo Farah and Usain Bolt and Blake and all that lot. And it was fantastic, amazing. And I'm glad the football season's back, though. Can't watch running forever.
Did you actually turn down the chance to be a part of the closing ceremony?
Yeah.
Why did you turn that down?
They'd asked me, and then I was going to do it for a long time, and they wanted to do it acoustically. That's just me and a guitar and a string section, and I was all right with that, you know. And then they wanted me to mime it, you know, and I wasn't into that. I just thought it was a bit naff, you know. And we kind of kicked it back and forward for a bit, and in the end, I think I just thought it didn't feel right, and I said, you know what, I'll watch it on TV. And they were hell bent on having Wonderwall in the thing, so they asked the next in line, and fortunately, he wasn't busy, so they did it.
And what do you think of his version of Wonderwall on the night?
Yeah, exactly the same as the Oasis version. Exactly the same. Now,
he's mentioned in a few interviews, your brother, that there is a possibility he thinks that you guys could get together again in, say, 3 years' time to mark the 20th anniversary of What's the Story Morning Glory. What do you think about that, Noel?
Well, he shouldn't have tried to sue me, should he?
So there's never going to happen?
Not even if all the starving children in the world depended on it. I don't, you know, I know it's the done thing these days and what people do, but it's not what I do. And I don't think, I can understand bands reforming, and they're bigger than they ever were, and they're now more successful. So we couldn't be more successful than we ever were. We were one of the 5 biggest bands in the world at any given time, and the biggest thing to come out of England in 35 years. So what would we be doing it for? For the fans. Nobody ever gave a shit about the fans in that band, you know. So no, it's done. You know, it's done.
Let's talk about Man City. Where were you when Aguero put that goal in to give them a 3-2 victory in the championship last May?
I was in a bar in Santiago in Chile at 9 a.m.
With many people in the bar at that time?
There was 6 of us. There was 4 City fans and 2 Liverpool fans, and it was the most emotional roller coaster day ever. I had to do a gig that night, and I was completely exhausted by the end of it. And it went from quiet confidence / arrogance, we've only got to beat QPR on these, to, you know, winning 1-0 at half time and just thinking, well, 1-0 do, just blow the whistle now, and then to being 2-1 down with 2 minutes left and just thinking, we've blown it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And then fast forward 2 minutes, and I actually couldn't believe what had happened. And it was, I kind of got home about 3 or 4 days later, and I must have watched that clip on YouTube maybe 1,000 times just to see if it actually did happen. And it was just the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I think that any of us have ever seen, you know.
You supported them through thick and thin when they weren't going anywhere, getting relegated most seasons.
There was no thick. It was all pretty thin. It was all pretty thin. But yeah, I've seen them in the 3rd division, you know. Yeah. I've seen them play Macclesfield. I've seen them play Wickham. York City on a Friday night, and we drew 1-1 to go 11th in the 3rd division. And that was 10 years ago. You know, and I know it wouldn't have happened without the money, but nobody at City gives a about that, I can assure you.
Let's talk about Mario Balotelli as well, the fantastic player that he is. I've got to say, I loved your interview you did with him on Football Focus a few months back. That was brilliant, because you were talking to him as a fan. It was absolutely amazing. But one thing I was gutted about, I think you were as well at the time, is all these stories we've heard of Super Mario that, like, we've read in the papers over the last few months about him giving away money, dressed as Father Christmas and all that. It turns out none of them were true.
Well, so he says. He says they're not true. You've got the story, and then you've got Mario saying this. I reckon he's trying to play it down a bit, and the press try and play it up a little bit. Well, I reckon there's some truth in it, because I've met him a few times, and I know crazy people when I meet them. Like, I got a brother who's crazy, right? Mario's got not like mad crazy, just he's got the look of the devil in him. Do you know what I mean? And the night I interviewed him, I thought the morning I'd been to watch City train. Unbelievable technique, all these players, and Mario might have been the best player that day. The next morning, that story broke about him being in a strip club at 5 o'clock. He'd only just got in, and he's pictured with pole dancers having a bifter in the street in Liverpool. And then he goes straight to training and being interviewed by me, and it's like, he's a madman. But he was brilliant, He doesn't understand what the fuss is, because he doesn't drink, you know what I mean? So he's like, he wants to go and see a bird riding around on a pole. Why can't I? Yeah, but you're an athlete. But he's a great lad. I've got to say, he's a great lad, and he doesn't understand all the fuss that's made about him.
He's just what the game needs, though, isn't it? Someone like that.
My kids love him because he's that bad boy, you know what I mean? And he plays gangster football, He nearly blew the title for us, Mario, by getting sent off against Arsenal. But then he came out the last game and he won it for us because he provided the assist for Aguero. He's honestly, you've got a good soul, top dude.
I was talking on Twitter with someone earlier on today, and they wanted me to ask you this. When you did the FA Cup third round draw a couple of seasons ago with Serge, and you both drew out Leicester and Man City, this guy says that in rehearsals you actually drew out Cardiff and Swansea. Is that right?
And Liverpool, Man United.
Really?
Yeah. Liverpool were at home to Man United, and Cardiff versus Swansea, yeah. The funny thing is, Serge pulls out Leicester and I pull out City. City go on to win the Cup, the first trophy in 35 years or whatever it is. But on the way back, I switch on my phone and there's like 1,000 text messages. Virtually all of them are saying, was that a fix? Yeah. And it's like, yeah, because that's what they do now.
Because you even mentioned before you did it, I wonder if this happened.
Yeah.
And then it did.
Well, I kind of had it in my hand and I kind of made a little wish and I shut my... I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, the odds are just staggering, And people still to this day going, was it a heated ball? And I was like, no, as if, you know what I mean? As if you're going to fix the draw. Yeah, it was a great day. It was a good day, man.
Let's just wrap up by talking about the music. Because we mentioned earlier about this second album that you recorded last year that you were going to be bringing out. Why is that not going to come out now? Is you just haven't had time to work on it because of all the touring?
Yeah, well, it should have been delivered the night before I did my press conference to launch all this kind of thing. But it hadn't been delivered, and I thought, well, I'll announce it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? Well, the worst that can happen is it eventually got delivered. And I didn't like the mixes and the tracks on it. They're not songs like what's on the High and Flying Birds album. They're more grooves and it's a bit more. And it entirely depends on the mixes. And I didn't like them. So then I tried to do some mixes while I was on the road and sending them out to me, and that didn't work. And then I tried to mix it in time off while I was on the road, and that didn't work. We got one track finished, which came out on the B-side of Dream On, which is called Shoot a Hole into the Sun. That was the one thing I managed to finish. And then, this tour went from 6 months to 9 months, then to a year. I just don't have the time now. And I think if I get home on November the 13th and have a day off and then go back into the studio, I think my wife will probably divorce me. So in the spirit of having a happy marriage and all that, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait for that till next time.
Well, listen, it's been fantastic to be able to chat to you today, Noel. Really looking forward to the gig tonight. Graham's obviously getting excited next.
I think Graham's having a nervous breakdown in there.
He's freaking out, to quote his hit from 2004.
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, listen, all the best for tonight. And also, I've got to quickly mention as well, you've got a DVD coming out next month, haven't you?
Yes.
The gig that you did at the O2 in February.
I wish it had been filmed at Wembley Stadium, Wembley Arena the other night. It's good. It's got. I mean, there's a few bits and pieces on there. There's actually was filmed watching the City match in the bar in Santiago. We cut it off before the crying starts, though. You get a free CD with it of all the demos from the record and a couple of unreleased things, and worth buying for Christmas, I would have thought.
An ideal stocking filler.
Absolutely. Available on the internet, amazon.co.uk and Woolworths, I believe, and Beals in Bournemouth.
Noel Gallagher, thank you very much.
Nice one, man. Thank you.